We're back for another slideshow, professional writers. This week we'll glance at sample white papers so you can envision how yours might take shape in the coming weeks. At this stage, you are still conducting research and you're preparing for the upcoming workshop on your outlines and introductions. It's a bit soon to be thinking about layout and page design, but seeing these finished products might help sharpen your focus and shape your ideas early on. Like with most documents we've viewed this semester, a white paper doesn't need to look one single way. That is, there's no industry standard. Based on the examples in our textbook, the white paper has elements of both an informal and formal report. I present these examples today not to prescribe a design or format for you, but rather to describe a few possibilities. Our goal is to create a document in which the design aids your reader's comprehension. But as we'll see, the layout of your document is inseparable from the structure of your ideas, especially in a longer document like your white paper. This slideshow is meant to complement the sample white paper formatting PDF on our Blackboard site. That 8-page document presents two approaches to formatting the same information. We'll view all 8 pages during this slideshow, although I won't discuss every text box and tip. Again, you can find the full PDF handout on our Blackboard site. And here we see my cover memo, which you can read on your own. On this one page, I address some common concerns students have faced when drafting their white papers in previous semesters. There are no rules for how to design a workplace report, I write. Your goal is to guide your readers' attention and keep them engaged. Along with chapters 15 and 16, we might also review the concepts from chapter 8, Designing User-Friendly Documents. Speaking of reviewing, here's a slide we've seen previously this semester, the 5 principles of design: balance, alignment, grouping, consistency, and contrast. These concepts refer to the presentation of our ideas on the page or the way text and images are arranged. Well-designed documents follow these principles naturally, whereas poorly designed documents might have glaring design errors. These principles are related to the concept of usability, which our book defines on page 41 as the measure of how well a document fulfills the information needs of its audience. If a document is usable, your readers can navigate the ideas and extract valuable information. A usable document communicates well with its readers. An unusable document might accidentally confound or confuse readers. Yet, layout and design can be a final draft revision. I wouldn't worry about how attractive your pages are when you're just getting words onto the page. At this stage of your drafting process, you might consider how this excerpt describes readers as raters for information. Your white paper will be 5 to 6 pages long, single-spaced. Most readers will approach a document like that with a bit of reluctance. Do they even need to read the entire thing? You aid their comprehension by providing access points, or what I sometimes call signposts, visual cues about the subject matter and its relevance to the surrounding ideas. In the workplace, readers have quite a few demands on their attention. They don't have time to read everything in full, and in turn they might skim. You can employ access points or signposts to direct your readers' attention. As we view these sample white papers in the following slides, we might keep an eye out for those access points. So what are our access points? Basically, anywhere a reader's eyesight is initially drawn. Think of when class starts in 15 minutes and you need to read a 15-page article. You're forced to skim, so you read the section headings and first sentence of each paragraph, you study the graphics and images, and you focus on the article's introduction and conclusion. That's similar to how a reader might skim your own documents. I know it's discouraging to think you invest so much effort into your writing and then others won't make the equivalent effort to read it in full. But knowing this can encourage you to produce a document that's sympathetic to your readers' needs. When you invest effort into your document's presentation, your readers are more willing to return the effort. And by showing attention to detail, you build up your ethos, or your authority as a writer. In this slideshow, we'll view these sample white papers in thumbnail view, meaning the structure and organization will be evident, although the body text won't. In that way, we'll be forced to skim. So, what might we look for? Here's a list of access points: titles, page headers and footers, topic sentences, section headings, graphics, and text boxes. Some of these concepts are covered in Chapter 5, which is among our upcoming readings. They are the first places we look when we want to extract the key points and ideas in a longer document. This first white paper takes on what I'd call a basic design. It's a memo. Although it's designed consistently, it's still a little dull. However, it's still usable because it contains no distracting errors and a reader would know how to navigate the document. The subject line is Meatless Meat Report, and it addresses the burgeoning commercial field of plant-based protein foods, or meat substitutes. For the sake of imagining this as an actual white paper, I'll read you the tail end of the abstract. This white paper will investigate the recent trends in meatless meat, a soy-based alternative to standard beef, sausage, chicken, and other meats. It will explore the composition of meatless meats, their impact on digestive and physical health, and their purported benefits to the agricultural ecosystem. Note the first level headings in bold: abstract, background, and research. And on this page, we also see one second level heading, the first soy burgers. Two more second level headings on the next page: food laboratories and statistics and figures. We then conclude with discussion, conclusion, and works cited. The headings are helpful for a reader who is rating for information, although we could make them more visually prominent. And the language, which loosely follows the structure of the scientific method, is sort of bureaucratic. As access points, those first level headings aren't specialized to the subject matter of meatless meat. For that reason, they might not be fully realized as access points to the informational content. As the assignment sheet states, you should create at least one data display or informational graphic for your white paper. That can be a table, chart, graph, illustration, pull-out text box, or many other things. The stipulation is that you need to create it yourself rather than paste it in from elsewhere. On the left page, we see a two-color table which would suffice for the data display requirement. As you're conducting research, you might look for statistical information that you can paraphrase into a visual aid. This one is nicely sized and the text wraps naturally around it. It also has a caption which allows the writer to cite the origin of the data and refer to the graphic within the body text when applicable. Your white paper will be single-spaced with a line break between paragraphs, which is the standard for workplace writing. The body text in this sample report is just filler. It's a bunch of topic sentences and so ons, but I'll point out that the paragraphs appear to be manageable lengths. Long paragraphs can be intimidating for readers, but even more so in single spacing. Paragraphing is more of an art than a science, but if you have one that's growing longer than 10 or 12 lines in your white paper, I'd encourage you to find a logical breaking point and separate it into two paragraphs. Our book discusses paragraph structure beginning on page 78, stressing the need for unity and coherence. This next document illustrates a more ambitious page design, one meant to guide the reader more intentionally. It begins with a cover page that includes the same information as the previous memo: title, to, from, and date, but it also has a simple table of contents, which forecasts the structure of the report. As we see, the table of contents reflects the first and second level headings, so creating it isn't difficult if you've given thought to your document's organization. By providing those contents, you allow your reader to preview the information to come. You're assisting them in skimming the document. I've also plugged the abstract onto the cover page since that serves a similar summative purpose. In a text box, I note the importance of compaction, fitting more information into smaller spaces. We don't want to crowd our pages, but neither do we want to waste space. I could imagine a white paper that has a separate page for these transmittal details, a separate page for the table of contents, and a separate page for the abstract. But that approach would waste paper and it would force your reader to flip or scroll through 3 pages before getting to the body paragraphs, the actual substance of your white paper. Further, it would test your reader's patience. Everything on the cover sheet counts as front matter, described on pages 288 to 289 of our textbook. As I noted on the white paper assignment sheet, your front and back matter don't count toward your page total for this project, so there's no reason to drag it out. But guess what? I'm not that picky about the 5 to 6 page length requirement. More important is that you fully researched and explained your topic. I would rather read 4 well-written, well-edited pages than 6 bloated, poorly edited pages. Our readers have limited time and attention, so let's not get in the habit of needlessly drawing out our thoughts. If you've anticipated your readers' questions and answered them deftly and efficiently, I won't penalize your white paper for coming in below the 5 to 6 page length requirement, which, in truth, is more of a suggestion than a requirement. The headings in this second white paper are more tailored to the subject. The first level headings are soybeans and grains, market evaluation, the future of protein, and conclusion, are you well fed? We have a few second level headings under the market evaluation, livestock and grains, meat from a laboratory, and market potential. And not only is the expression more specific, but the design also makes these headings more prominent. In that previous document, the headings could get lost visually on the page. Here they stand out more. That matters since we're thinking of headings as access points. I've used a different typeface, Calibri, for the headings than I used for the body text, Times New Roman. The headings are thus grouped visually. The previous white paper had a couple tables, while this one has a bar graph and a pie chart. Earlier this semester, we viewed a slideshow on graphics, which corresponded with Chapter 7, using audience-centered visuals. We also completed a quick writes activity that had us assess the purpose of different visual aids. For this assignment, like with our technical descriptions, you can plug in graphics you locate online. But you still need to cite the original source. You should choose graphics that are functional rather than decorative. You shouldn't use images simply to fill space. And when possible, you should consider creating your own graphics which are easier to integrate into the styles of your document. Again, you can locate the sample white paper formatting PDF on our Blackboard site and view this document in greater detail. My goal in these pages is to guide you in creating a unified, cohesive, and attractive workplace report. We should always keep our readers' needs in mind. We want our layout and design to guide their attention and assist their understanding of the material. Although right now we're still researching and writing our white papers, we should consider how we'll arrange our information through sections, paragraphs, topic sentences, and visual aids. In that way, design is just the visual presentation of your white paper's structure. To conclude this slideshow, we'll view a few workplace reports from the real world that could easily fall under the category of white papers. This first one was prepared by the Department of Human Resources at the University of Alaska System. It's a 3-page document, although I'm only posting the first 2 pages here. It arrived in my inbox like many emails where I wasn't sure whether I need to read it or if I could delete it without consequence. Yet I found this document to be pleasantly well written and well organized. It's usable based on how we can view it as a thumbnail and navigate the title, headings, and statistical data. Here are 3 things this document does well. 1, its first and second level headings are very clear. The first level headings are in bold and all caps. The second level headings are bold and conclude with a colon. For instance, on page 2, results is a first level heading, while faculty salaries, staff salaries, executive salaries, and pay equity are second level headings. As a reader, I know where to look for the information I'm seeking. The design styles are consistent. 2, the document employs parallel structure with its many bullet points. When you have a series of comparable items, you might arrange them in a bullet point or a numbered list, which our textbook discusses beginning on page 434. Look at that first list on page 1. The verbs are formatted in a consistent tense: ensuring, demonstrating, supporting. As a side note, you should format the verbs on your resume consistently like that. For instance, managed, earned, collaborated. In the later lists, there are no extraneous words and the information is presented without clutter. I could imagine this numerical data presented in a table or maybe a bar chart, but the vertical list works fine as well. 3, although it's harder to tell in this overview, the document is simply well written. The paragraphs are manageable, and although the sentences can be long because of all the proper nouns and acronyms, that seems unavoidable. I didn't see any typos or mechanical errors, and the formatting was clean and inviting. I'm sure the writers of this report put in many hours so that I could read and understand it in only a few minutes. Easy reading is often the result of hard writing. This next report is a long one, 32 pages, although I'm sharing only the first few pages here. It's from the Fairbanks Experiment Farm, which is located west of campus on Tanana Drive over by the Botanical Garden. The Experiment Farm conducts research on plants and animals related to Arctic and subarctic regions. It's where they had the reindeer up until a few years ago. This lengthy report presents its long-term plan. As we can see by the table of contents on the second page, the report is organized into 5 sections. Within each section, there's a fair number of smaller topics. For such a long report, truly a booklet, it's essential the document is well organized and consistent. When we view the beginning of the body text, we see subtle cues that guide the reader. For instance, look how that big introduction heading is the same shade of blue as in the table of contents. This document provides consistent visual styles. We have the second level headings to guide us as well. The paragraphs are a good size. I don't fear that I'll lose my attention and focus. Because the page is formatted in landscape style, it uses a 2-column layout. Although your white paper might not look much like this one, I share it so we can see how the concepts we're studying can be applied to higher stakes organizational writing. Odds are this report wasn't the work of just one person, but rather a team of people. There on the second page, in fact, it says the report was prepared by a committee. And one final workplace report, this one from IARC, the International Arctic Research Center here on campus. As part of their mission, IARC studies matters of interest to Arctic and subarctic regions. This report, Alaska's Changing Environment, is 16 pages long. If the Fairbanks Experiment Farm document was unlike the white papers we're composing in class, this one is even less so. It's the work of a whole slew of researchers, writers, and designers. It's a lovely document, ambitious, informative, and engaging. After that cover page, which illustrates a forest fire, we have a page that credits the research and review teams, provides the table of contents, and offers several paragraphs of introduction. As we see already, this document uses color and data displays to get its points across. This isn't a standard Microsoft Word or Google Doc. Given the complexity, yet also the familiarity of that map of Alaska, it lures in readers and promises to teach them new information. As for the body text, it's organized into modular sections. Page 3 addresses seasons and contains 4 subsections, each with its own data display visual. Page 4 is similarly arranged around the subject of temperature. The layout is different from what we're accustomed to, since a reader might not move from the top left to the bottom right of each page, yet it's still easy to understand. The orange headings are prominent and there's white space between columns so we know which items are grouped together. The pages also have illustrative photographs which are slightly washed out so not to intrude on the body text. Again, not the style of report we're creating in class, although the concepts between it and our white papers are surprisingly similar. And that concludes this slideshow on white paper formatting. Once again, these pages at the beginning of the slideshow are from the sample white paper formatting handout. The colored boxes address some of the frequently asked questions I've encountered, so I'd encourage you to locate the handout on our Blackboard site and read it in full. Although you're probably still researching and drafting your white paper, you might start thinking about how the end product will look, since structure and design depend on one another for these longer workplace reports. Thanks for watching this slideshow, and have a good rest of your week.